My name is Emily, and I'm a 29-year-old marketing manager. I met Jack in college, and we fell in love quickly. He was everything I wanted in a partner, kind, loving, and supportive. But there was one thing that made our relationship difficult: his mother. She never approved of me, and it was clear from the beginning. I remember the first time I met her. She barely acknowledged me and didn't even bother to ask me any questions. It was as if I didn't exist. One day, Jack and I were out for lunch when the topic of his mother came up. "She's always been difficult," he said with a sigh. "She's never been happy with anyone I've dated. But I thought she'd come around eventually. I don't know if she ever will," I said, feeling frustrated. "It's like she hates me for no reason." "She doesn't hate you," Jack said, trying to reassure me. "She's just protective of me, that's all. I wish she could see how happy we are together," I said, feeling a pang of sadness. "It's like she wants to tear us apart." Jack reached out and took my hand. "Don't worry about her," he said. "I love you, and that's all that matters." I smiled, feeling a bit better. But deep down, I knew that his mother would always be a source of tension in our relationship. I just didn't know how much worse it was going to get. It was a beautiful Saturday morning, and I decided to take my car for a drive. As I approached my car, I immediately noticed something was wrong. The windows were smashed, the tires were slashed, and there were scratches all over the body. I stood there in shock, not sure what to do. Jack came outside and saw the damage. He knew right away that his mother had done it. "What the hell?" Jack exclaimed. "My mother did this. I can't believe it." I was in tears. I couldn't believe that someone could be so cruel. "Why would she do this?" I asked, trying to hold back my emotions. "I don't know," Jack said, shaking his head in disbelief. "She's always been like this. She doesn't want me to be with anyone." I felt a sense of anger and frustration. How can she be so selfish? I said, my voice trembling. "She's ruining our lives." "I know, Emily," Jack said, putting his arms around me. "I'll talk to her and make sure she knows that this is not okay." I knew deep down that talking to her would not solve anything. She had been trying to sabotage our relationship for years, and this was just another attempt. I couldn't let her get away with it. "I need to confront her," I said, wiping away my tears. "I can't let her think that she can get away with this." "I'll come with you," Jack said, determined. "She needs to know that this is not okay." I knew that confronting her would be difficult, but I couldn't let her win. I had to stand up for myself and fight back. After the incident with my car, I knew I had to confront my mother-in-law. Jack and I drove over to her house and knocked on the door. When she answered, I could feel my heart racing. "What do you want?" she sneered, looking at me with disdain. "I want to know why you did this," I said, trying to remain calm. "Why would you ruin my car?" "I don't know what you're talking about," she said, crossing her arms. "I didn't do anything." I could feel my blood boiling. "Don't lie to me," I said, my voice raising. "We know it was you. Why would you do this to us?" She laughed sarcastically. "I did it because you're not good enough for my son," she said, smirking. "He deserves better than you." I felt a surge of anger. "How can you be so cruel?" I said, my voice shaking. "You're ruining our lives." "I'm doing what's best for my son," she said, not backing down. "He needs someone better than you." Jack stepped forward, his face red with anger. "Mom, this is not okay," he said, his voice raised. "You can't keep treating us like this." She looked at him with a cold expression. "You're my son, and I'll do whatever I need to do to protect you," she said, her voice firm. I knew then that there was no reasoning with her. She was determined to break us apart, no matter the cost. I looked at Jack and knew that it was time to make a tough decision. After the confrontation with my mother-in-law, I knew that I couldn't just let her get away with ruining my car and trying to break us apart. I needed to take action and come up with a plan to get revenge. I spent hours brainstorming different ideas, trying to come up with a perfect plan. And finally, I had it. I know what we need to do, I said to Jack, a sly smile on my face. We need to make Think That done, that we're not going to fight anymore. And then, when least expects it. What do you mean? Jack asked, looking at me curiously. I mean, we'll pretend to get a divorce. I explained. I'll take all my belongings, sell the house, and move away. She'll think that she's won, that she's finally broken us apart. But then we'll take everything back and we'll get on her. Jack looked at me with a mixture of surprise and admiration. That's a crazy plan, he said, shaking his head. But I like it. Let's do it. And so, we began to execute our revenge plan. I started to pack up all my things, sell the house, and prepare to move away. I made sure to keep up appearances to make it look like I was really leaving Jack for good. I even pretended to cry in front of my mother-in-law, making her believe that she had finally won. But little did she know, we were just getting started. We had something big planned, something that would make her regret ever messing with us. I knew that our plan was risky, but I was willing to do anything to make my mother-in-law pay for what she had done, and with Jack by my side, I felt confident that we could pull it off. The day of the divorce arrived, and I couldn't help but feel a sense of sadness and regret. Even though I knew that it was all just part of our plan, it still hurt to think that Jack and I were really going our separate ways. As we stood in front of the judge, I tried my best to look sad and distraught, pretending to wipe away tears as I signed the papers. I can't believe this is really happening, I said, my voice shaking. I never thought it would come to this. Jack put his arm around me, playing his part perfectly. I'm sorry, babe, he said, giving me a sympathetic look. I wish things could have been different. My mother-in-law was sitting in the back of the courtroom, watching us with a look of satisfaction. I could tell that she thought she had finally won. But little did she know, our plan was about to kick into high gear. After the divorce was finalized, I packed up all my things and prepared to move away. Jack helped me load up the moving truck, and we said our tearful goodbyes. Remember, I said, looking at him with determination, we'll get our revenge. We won't let her win. I know, Jack said, his voice firm. We've got this. And with that, I got in the truck and drove away, feeling a mix of sadness and excitement for what was to come. It was time to put our plan into action. Jack and I had spent weeks preparing, making sure that everything was in place for our revenge. And now it was finally time to strike. I parked the moving truck a few blocks away from our old house, making sure to stay out of sight. Jack had already snuck into the house earlier that day, and he was waiting for me inside. As I approached the house, I could feel my heart pounding in my chest. I knew that what we were about to do was risky, but I was determined to see it through. I opened the door and stepped inside, my eyes scanning the room for any sign of my mother-in-law. But she was nowhere to be found. Jack, I whispered, my voice barely above a whisper. Over here, he called from the kitchen. I made my way over to him, and he handed me a can of spray paint. Let's get to work, he said with a grin. And so we set to work, painting the walls with all sorts of vulgar messages. We destroyed everything in our path, leaving nothing but chaos and destruction in our wake. This feels so good, I said, a rush of adrenaline coursing through my veins. She'll never mess with us again. Just then, I heard a noise coming from upstairs. I froze, my heart racing as I realized that my mother-in-law was home. Quick, we have to go, Jack said, grabbing my hand and pulling me towards the door. But before we could escape, my mother-in-law appeared at the top of the stairs, a look of shock and anger on her face. What the hell is going on here? She screamed, her voice echoing throughout the house. I took a step forward, my eyes blazing with anger. You brought this on yourself, I said, my voice filled with venom. You never should have messed with us. And with that, Jack and I fled the house, running as fast as we could towards the waiting truck. As we drove away, I felt a sense of satisfaction wash over me. We had finally gotten our revenge, and now we could move on with our lives, free from the toxic influence of my mother-in-law. After our revenge plan was executed, Jack and I went our separate ways. We agreed to never speak of what happened again, to move on with our lives and start fresh. It was a difficult time for both of us. We had been through so much together, and it was hard to imagine life without each other. But we both knew that it was for the best. Months passed, and I slowly started to rebuild my life. I got a new job, made new friends, and even started dating again. And then, one day, I received a letter in the mail. It was from Jack, and my heart skipped a beat as I read his words. "Meet me at our old spot," he had written. "I have something to show you." I couldn't resist. I made my way to the park where we used to spend our afternoons, and there he was waiting for me. "Hey," he said, smiling at me. "Long time no see." I smiled back, feeling a sense of warmth spread through my chest. "What do you have to show me?" He pulled out a piece of paper and handed it to me. It was a picture of a beautiful new car with a note attached. "Congratulations," the note read. "You deserve it. Love, Jack." Tears welled up in my eyes as I looked at the picture. It was a symbol of everything we had been through together, of all the struggles we had faced and overcome. "Thank you," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. Jack put his arm around me, and we sat there in silence for a few moments, just enjoying each other's company. "I miss you," he said finally. "I miss you too," I replied, my heart aching with longing. And in that moment, I realized that no matter what had happened between us, no matter how much we had gone through, we would always be connected. We would always have each other in some way or another. And with that, our story came to a close. It wasn't a perfect ending, but